We move to question 3. Describe the 5 methods used to study history. So this question has 10 marks. So since they're asking us the 5 methods, 5 into 10 is 2. So we're going to describe briefly. Each method will describe it briefly because there are two things. They are giving you a mark for stating the method and a mark for describing that method. So for each point, the method and the discussion, you explain something about that method, they'll be giving you 2 marks for each. All right. So there are many methods that can be used to study history, but this essay will only look at 5. The first method that can be used to study history is archaeology. The way I'm saying it is how you should write the essay. So archaeology is the study of ancient remains. Okay, what are ancient remains? So let's say you go to Olduvai Gorge, you find bones there, then you start studying them. These bones were bones of what type of creature? The bones are showing that how was this person living? Okay, you start studying those bones. Was this person black? Was this person white? Was this person fat or thin? So studying those bones will be able to give you an idea of what that creature looked like. You'll find that there are some areas in which those bones were buried together with some items. So those items which were buried with the bones will give you an idea the types of tools used during that time. Okay, so this is what archaeologists do. Okay, so it's aimed at finding how people lived, their way of life. Okay, yes. So you also notice that archaeologists can dig. There are sometimes when they will just find bones in a cave, then they will not have to dig the place up. But in the place where there are times when they can also dig for the bones, okay, in an area. So you can find bones in a cave and study them, or you can even dig the bones up. Okay, so even for this question, I would want you to write for me an essay, very short. For each point, you describe it briefly. Don't say a lot about that point because you're talking about 5 points, and each point you say something about it. Okay. The details are in most cases illustrated by scientific drawn diagrams classified depending on the depth of the ground. And classification, this classification, they call it stratigraphy. Now, what are the limitations of archaeology? You find that you want to dig up a certain place to discover something about certain bones, but then politics, okay, politics or culture of the people who are living in the area may not allow you to do that. Imagine you're an archaeologist, then you want to discover something in a certain area, and then the culture of those people states that no, we do not dig up graves. Okay, that's actually very normal, okay? But when you're actually found digging up a grave, they might actually be superstitions in the area. No, this and this is going to happen to you. So that is going to make it very hard for you to start digging up for bones in that area, okay? Because of the cultural beliefs and the politics. So those are the limitations faced by politicians. And the other limitation that could be there is that people who left the remains cannot be identified. It can be difficult to identify the remains of some bones. Okay. Then the other method of learning about history is oral tradition. Now, what is oral tradition? I don't know if you've been in contact with grandmothers or great grandmothers. Let's say you want to learn about independence. You can learn about independence in a few ways, okay? So one of the ways is by oral tradition. If you have a grandmother, grandfather, or a great grandfather, these people were there during independence. So they'll be able to tell you what happened during that time, okay? They'll tell you what they actually saw with their eyes. Not during independence, we were doing this and that. We were buying milling at 2 kwacha. Okay, they tell you all these stories. That's oral tradition. Okay. Now, what are the disadvantages of oral tradition? You'll find that oral tradition has no accuracy in it because the person telling you that story may add some fiction to the story to spice it up. Okay? Not during that time it used to be like this or it used to be like that. But you're not going to be sure if it's actually true because this person might be adding spices to the story. Okay? These are the limitations. So when you look at the points given there, this is a method of learning about history through word of mouth. Okay? So you find that if your grandmother tells you that during independence, Milimi was 2 kwacha, if you also grow old and get to have your own grandchildren, you come and tell them that Milimi during independence was what? 2 kwacha. But then you might want to exaggerate to say 2 kwacha was too much. Then you come and tell your kids, no, Milimi during independence was 15 way. Okay, you change the narrative of the story. Then those children will also have their own grandchildren and they'll also spice things up to say, no, Milimi was free during independence. Have you seen how the story keeps changing? So you'll find that oral tradition has no accuracy in it because the person telling the story can change the narrative of the story. Okay? But you find that this is the oldest source of history before people even invented books, before people invented archaeology and the like. This is the method we've been learning about history. Okay? It is also a primary source of written history. So you find that if your grandmother tells you that Milimi was 2 kwacha during independence, this is a primary source. This is the first source of what? History. And then, let me just cancel that. And then what you're going to do is you might want to write it down in a book to say, no, during independence, people were not wearing clothes. They were buying Milimi at 2 kwacha. You can write that down. Okay?